Baruchim Aba'im, welcome to another Wednesday night class in Har Lebanon, Avenue Ezra, corner of East 9th. We're learning Perashat Toldot. Toldot focuses on the life of Yitzhak Avinu towards the beginning of the Perashah. Towards the end of the Perashah is the famous episode where Yaakov Avinu goes in and he chaps the berachot. He seemingly steals the berachot, which we will debunk that theory tonight. He does not steal any berachot. We'll debunk that theory. We'll also debunk the theory that Yitzhak Avinu had no idea what was going on with his children. That's not true at all. We will see it tonight. However, he does take the berachot, and because of that, he gains now, or Esav is very upset over this. Why is he upset over a beracha? We will see also. And he plans to kill Yaakov. He says it in his heart. Vayomer Esav belibo. He says it in his heart. I can't wait till my father dies, and then I'll go and chase my brother Yaakov and I'll kill him. So Rivka Imenu knows by Ruach HaKodesh, as the Mefarshim say, and she tells Yaakov, go to your uncle, my brother Lavan, go stay over there and I'll call you back when everything settles down. That's the story basically of Perashat Toldot. I do want to point out the first Rashi in this week's Perashah. The first Rashi says, Ve'ele Toldot Yitzhak, which means these are the offspring of Isaac. Now, if you were to ask anyone, who were the children of Yitzhak, he would tell you Yaakov and Esav. So Rashi says, Ve'ele Toldot Yitzhak, Yaakov ve'Esav ha'amurim b'parasha. Rashi goes out of his way to tell us, or to inform us, that the offspring of Yitzhak were Yaakov and Esav. Now, usually Rashi, you could take a lifetime to understand Rashi. Rashi is very perplexing, very, not confusing, but Rashi is very deep. Even though he comes to explain the pshat, the surface, but he's very deep. What does that mean? Yaakov ve'Esav ha'amurim beparasha. Rashi, thank you so much, but you could have saved yourself ink. I know who Yaakov and Esav are. I know they're the sons of Yitzhak. So why do you have to tell me this parasha will talk about Yaakov and Esav? Question number one. Yitzhak Avinu and Rivka pray for many years to have a child, and then Vataha Rivka ishto. Rivka b'sha'a tova, mazal tov, she's pregnant. She doesn't know that they're twins. Vaytrotzetzu habanim bekirba. Vatomer im ken lama ze anochi vatelech lidotesh Hashem. She has kicking in her stomach. She doesn't know what's going on. She tells us that Rabotenu darashu lashon ritza. The children were running. כשהייתה עוברת על פתחי תורה של שם ועבר, יעקב רץ ומפחרחס לצאת. Anytime she passed by a synagogue, anytime she passed by a bet midrash, anytime she passed by an institution of religion, Yaakov Avinu is kicking to come out. What do I want to stay in the stomach for? I'm only learning Torah. I want to go out into the real world to actually fulfill the mitzvot. כשהייתה עוברת על פתחי עבודה זרה, however, anytime she passed by the churches, anytime she passed by an institution that wasn't affiliated with Judaism, Esav mefarches latzet. Esav is kicking, he wants to leave. She doesn't understand what's going on, so she goes and asks Borei Olam, Batelech lidrosh et Hashem. She asks Borei Olam. Now nobody could ask Borei Olam, so the closest to Borei Olam is the rabbis. And she goes to ask Shem va'Eber. She goes to the yeshiva of Shem va'Eber and she says exactly what is going on in my stomach. This is the story, this is the situation. And he tells her, Vayomer Hashem la shenei goyim bebitnech, you will have two children. Ul'om mil'om ye'ematz, they'll have great nations out of these two children. Verav ya'avot sa'ir. English translation, the elder shall serve the younger. Which means Borei Olam is already telling her that your oldest son, which we know is Esav, will serve the youngest son Yaakov. So right off the bat over here, we understand that Yitzhak Avinu wants to give the berachot to the one who will be served, not to the one who is serving, to to the one who will be served. So Yitzhak Avinu the whole time wants to give the berachot to Yaakov Avinu. Why exactly did it have to go into this scenario? We'll explain. But right over here, Rivka Imenu is told by God, revealed to her by Borei Olam, that the berachot belong to Yaakov. Yes, you can come and tell me Yitzhak Avinu was unaware of this Ruach HaKodesh. Yitzhak Avinu did not go with Rivka Imenu to Yeshivat Shem Va'ebed. So he didn't hear the prophecy. So if he didn't hear the prophecy, then why does he want to give the berachot to Yaakov and not give it to Esav? This shi'ur is based on the Ismach Moshe. The Ismach Moshe has a beautiful discourse over here. It's around 5 pages. I only printed it because if anyone wants it after the class, be my guest, take it, and it's beautiful. If you have time to read 5 pages, you can take it. But I summed up the 5 pages for you, not in a nutshell, but in a class. So the Ismach Moshe, before explaining to us exactly what is going on in the story about the berachot, he asks a few questions. Question number 1. Yitzhak Avinu was a olah temima. Yitzhak Avinu, it was forbidden for Yitzhak Avinu to leave the land of Eretz Israel. Why? Because he was a korban. He was a ish kadosh. That's why, towards the middle of the Perashat, he goes down to Gerar, when there's a famine. He wants to go to Mitzrayim, and Borei Olam tells him, do not go down to Mitzrayim. Don't act like your father. Yitzhak Avinu wants to follow in the footsteps of Abraham Avinu. My father went to Mitzrayim, let me go to Mitzrayim. Borei Olam tells him, no, you cannot leave, you must stay in the land of Israel. Why? Because you're olah temima. You are a pure person. You cannot be defiled by what goes on outside of Eretz Israel. So if that's the case, as the Ismach Moshe, how does he love Esav? It says in the Pasuk, Vaye'ahav Yitzhak et Esav kitzayit befiv. Yitzhak Avinu loves his older son, his elder son, Esav. He loves him so much. And the reason why he loves him is because he goes and hunts for him and he brings him food. But Yitzhak Avinu, is he so naive to the fact that Esav is a Rasha? In fact, the day that Avraham Avinu passed away and Yaakov Avinu is making this red lentil soup, Esav comes back from the field. He's starving. He's very thirsty. And he tells his brother, just pour it down my throat. I don't want to eat it. Just pour the lentil soup down my throat. Says the Midrash, why is he so tired? Well, he committed 5 sins that day. One of them being he denied the existence of God. One of them being that he raped a engaged girl, a betrothed girl. One of them being is that he killed Nimrod. He did bloodshed, murder. So he's not your typical, tzaddik, if we can say. He's a rasha. So what? Yitzhak Avinu has no idea that his son Esav is a rasha. And you want to give the berachot to Esav, your son that's a rasha? Question number 1. Question number 2. The Torah tells us that the reason why Yitzhak Avinu loves Esav is because Esav goes out and he hunts for him and he brings him food. Yitzhak Avinu is a very wealthy man. Very wealthy. Avimelech tells Yitzhak Avinu, leave, we don't want you over here. You're amassing great wealth. The Philistines are very jealous of you. Leave, this is not for you. So Yitzhak Avinu is very wealthy. He has servants. He has people that could get him the meat. Yet the Torah tells us that the reason why he loves Esav is because Esav is hunting and bringing the meat. Really? That's the reason why you love Esav so much? Ask one of your workers to get it for you. Question number 2. Question number 3. There's a Gemara, Masechet Kiddushin, Yod Het. Says the Gemara that Esav was a Oved Avodah Zarah. As we just said a few seconds earlier, Esav worshipped idols. In fact, I saw a midrash that said that he was just like Haman. He had a cross necklace. And just by the way, I also want to debunk another theory. Many people think that JC was the inventor of the cross. That's not true. They hung him or they pinned him on the cross or whatever. They nailed him on the cross. But he didn't invent the whole idea of the cross. The cross was way before. So Esav was a Oved Avodah Zarah. If Esav was a Oved Avodah Zarah, the shehita of a person that's Oved Avodah Zarah is not kosher. If a person that serves idols goes and he shechs an animal, he's Jewish, but he serves idols and he slaughters an animal for him. Can I eat it? No, it's asur. So how is Yitzhak Avinu eating the meat from his son Esav? 3a. That was 3a. There's a Gemara. Are you writing this down? Good. I'll be recorded so you review it after the class. No, it's funny because somebody tells me that Baruch Hashem, when it's uploaded to Torah anytime, he hears it again and he writes notes down because he says, I have an issue with you, you speak too fast. Okay, I speak too fast. What am I going to do? I have to finish the class. 3a says, there's a Gemara Masechet Hulin, He Amud Bet. Borei Olam never lets a Sadiq falter or stumble into an Avera. Borei Olam safeguards Ragle Hasidav Yishmor. Borei Olam takes care of the Sadiqim. He makes sure the Sadiqim don't sin. So Borei Olam makes sure that the Sadiqim don't sin. How is Borei Olam allowing Yitzhak Avinu to eat from the slaughter meat of Esav, his son? Question number 4. There's a midrash in Echa Rabbah. Says the midrash, Tzaddik yachol lehavchin hashohet min habasar shehu shohet. A tzaddik is able to discern whether this person slaughtering for me the meat is a tzaddik or not by the way of eating the meat. So for example, if somebody, this is the Gemara says, midrash says, amazing. Somebody brings me the meat, if I'm a tzaddik, for example, it could be, if I'm a tzaddik, I eat the meat, I'm able to know the characteristics of the person that slaughtered the meat by the fact that I'm eating his meat. So if that's the case, Yitzhak, you're eating the meat of Esav. You have no idea that Esav is committing all these sins before he brings you the meat. And final question. How did Rivka and Yaakov allow Yitzhak Avinu to eat the meat? Now, you can fool maybe Yitzhak. You can't fool Yaakov. You can't fool Rivka. Rivka knows the truth. Yaakov knows the truth. So how do you allow Esav to hand over meat every single day? And it says, Kitzayid befiv, and Yitzhak Avinu loves the meat from Esav, which means he was eating a lot of meat. How do you allow your father, how do you allow your husband to eat meat from a person that slaughters the meat that he's Obed Avodah Zarah? So again, this is not my, I can't say it's not my view, but it's not, I didn't prepare this class from my head. This is all the Ismach Moshe. Explains the Ismach Moshe like this. He says, for sure, a tzaddik like Yitzhak Avinu was able to discern and find out who the person that shechs the meat is by eating the meat, 100%. Therefore, Rivka and Yaakov would not allow Yitzhak Avinu to have any pain and suffering by realizing that his son Esav was a Rasha. Imagine, heaven forbid, you are told in a PTA meeting that your son is failing every single grade, bar minan. Your son is the troublemaker of the class. There is a possibility we will kick your son out of the school. Now, that's not a report you want to tell your wife if your wife doesn't come with you. And what will happen to your son when you get back home? I don't know what you will do to your son when you get back home. Everybody has their different policies when it comes to their children. Over here, I didn't want to say that, but okay. Over here, we're not talking about a child that failed school. We're talking about a child that worships idols. He bows down to idols. He rapes ladies in the field. He kills people. This is his job. So if everything that Esav was doing, Yitzhak Avinu would find out, it would cause him great pain and suffering, and he would lose his Ruach HaKodesh. Because Ruach HaKodesh only comes to a person when they're besimcha. So Rivka and Yaakov did not want to cause any pain to Yitzhak Avinu. So you know what they would do, says the Ismach Moshe? Before Esav cooked the food, or before he shechted the food, or before he did anything, they would take the food. He would hunt. They would take the food. Yaakov Avinu would slaughter the food. Rivka Imenu would cook the food, give it to Esav. Esav would hand it to his father. Wait, you'll ask your questions after we finish everything that he says. Now, if Yaakov Avinu is the one that is slaughtering the food, slaughtering the animals. Which means Yaakov Avinu, from the Kedusha of Yaakov Avinu, and we'll see exactly how Kadosh Yaakov Avinu was. From the Kedusha of Yaakov, for sure, that every time he slaughtered the animal, he would slaughter with the kavanot more than any shohet nowadays. He would know the kavanot, the intentions, the meanings, or the thoughts to put behind every single shehita. So if that's the case, when Yitzhak Avinu is eating the food, he's really eating the food Avi of Yaakov Avinu. So therefore, when he's eating the food, he thinks that it's Esav bringing him the food. So he thinks that his son Esav is a Sadiq. So therefore, when Yitzhak is addressed with these questions from Esav, Daddy, how do we make ma'aser on salt? Everyone here knows what ma'aser is. I have $10, ma'aser, I give $1 to ma'aser. Fine, that's easy. How do you make, he asks him this question, Dad, how do you do ma'aser on salt? I have a lot of grains of salt over here, and I want to do ma'aser. What kind of idiotic question is that? You can't do ma'aser on salt. However, Yitzhak Avinu says, unbelievable question. What unbelievable question? What kind of question is this? Nobody would ask this question. He says, it has to be an unbelievable question. I'm eating the meat from Esav. He's the Ish Kadosh. He's slaughtering it. He has no idea that Yaakov is slaughtering it. He has no idea that Rivka is preparing it, says Yismach Moshe. So he's thinking, Be'emet, my son is a Sadiq. So every single question that he asks me, beautiful. You know, sometimes when you're so proud of your children and you adore them so much, you should be always proud of your children and adore them every time. They could ask you the silliest questions in the world, and what do you say? Wow, unbelievable question. I do it sometimes at the Kahal. People sometimes ask me, I'm sorry, but they ask me questions that, sometimes don't make any sense. Unbelievable question. How would the person feel if I tell them, what kind of question is this? What kind of question is this? You're asking me this question? Unbelievable question. I got to think about it. I don't know. I got to think about it. It's an unbelievable question. So Yitzhak Avinu would say, unbelievable. But Yitzhak Avinu really meant it. It wasn't a facade like us with our children. He really meant it. Wow, Esav, you're such a Sadiq. I know you're a Sadiq from the slaughtering and the food that you're bringing me. And Esav is doing this whole tactic behind Yitzhak Avinu's back. And Yitzhak Avinu says, listen to this. Yitzhak Avinu says, I want to give my berachot, not to Esav, not to Yaakov, to the one that has the most kavanah in the food that he is slaughtering. It could be Yaakov, it could be Esav, I don't care. I am giving the berachot to the one who deserves it. Therefore, when Yaakov Avinu later comes in, and he is the one who has been slaughtering the whole time, and Yitzhak Avinu gives him the berachot, we'll see, he's very upset that Esav now comes in. What am I doing? Did I give the berachot to the wrong person? Then the Ruach HaKodesh appears to him and says, you were doing it right the whole time. All along, says the Yismach Moshe, all along you were giving the berachot to the one who really deserved the berachot, and that is Yaakov Avinu. In fact, says the Yismach Moshe, that the Pasuk says that Yaakov Avinu goes out, he brings the sheep, or the Gedayeh Izim, he brings the goats, and what night was it? It was Leil Pesach. That's why Yitzhak Avinu needed two. One for Korban Pesach, and one for Korban Hagigah. So Yaakov Avinu goes, he gets them, he brings them back, Rivka Avinu prepares them, and Yaakov Avinu goes in, he does the whole ordeal, he gives the berachot and everything. Esav, where usually every single day it would be very easy for him to hunt, that day Borei Olam delayed him. That day he's going around trying to get something to hunt and everything is running away from him. He can't get anything. In the end, the Mefarshim say he couldn't find anything. He caught a dog. And he slaughtered the dog and he prepared the dog for his father Yitzhak, because how could I come in with a shame face to my father Yitzhak? I got to bring him something. But when Yaakov Avinu, after he gives Yitzhak Avinu everything and he gets the berachot and he leaves, Ach yatso yatzai Yaakov v'nei Esav ba mitzedo. It's like, a turnstile, or the way, in the fancy kitchens, what do they have? They have one door opening, one door closing. It's like that. It's like the turning. It escapes me right now exactly what the term is, but it's those kinds of doors. So they don't see, what is it called? Yeah, sliding door. So Esav doesn't see Yaakov, Yaakov doesn't see Esav. Yaakov is leaving, Esav is coming in. The moment that Esav tells his father, Dad, I want you to eat my food, he says, 1 second. What do you mean you want me to eat your food? Wasn't it you the whole time that gave me the food before? It says, Vayeherad Yitzhak harada gedola ad me'od. He's trembling right now. He's frightened. Maybe I was eating from Esav the Rasha's food the whole time. Maybe that's what I was doing. Until, like I told you earlier, the Ruach HaKodesh came over to him and he said, no. It was Yaakov. Don't worry. Borei Olam would never let a Sadiq make an Avirah. That's why, what does Yaakov Avinu, what does Yitzhak Avinu say after? He says, Gam Baruch Yihiyeh. He deserves the Barachot. Because I really wanted to give the Barachot to the one who deserves them the whole time. And the one who deserves them the whole time is not Esav. Is the one who had the Kavanot and the Barachot in the Ochel. And who was the one who put the Kavanot in the Ochel? Yaakov. By the way, in the Pasuk, it doesn't say that Yitzhak Avinu touches the food of Esav at all. Esav is begging him, Dad, eat. Dad, eat. No answer. Dad, give me a beracha. What beracha am I going to give you? I give all the berachot to the one who really deserves it. Can't you find me something? He's begging him, he's crying. He's a 63-year-old man. Imagine this. A 63-year-old man, he's crying, he's begging his father, please, Dad, you got to give me something. Finally, he gives him the beracha that he wants. He says, you will have from the bounty of the land, you will have luxuries of this world. And this is what Esav wants. What is Esav going to do with spirituality? What is Esav going to do with learning more Torah? So the Pasuk doesn't say at all that Yitzhak Avinu ate from the food of Esav, because he understands right now that really the one who was bringing me the food the whole time, or at least shechting the food, slaughtering the food, was Yaakov Avinu with the berachot and the kavanot that he was putting into the food. Continues the Yismach Moshe and he says like this. The Torah tells us, Ve'yado ohezet ba'akeb Esav. When Esav leaves, he's about to leave the stomach, exit from the stomach, Yaakov, the womb, Yaakov Avinu is grabbing on to the heel of Esav. Akeb means heel, but akeb in Hebrew also means trickery. Vayakeveni. In fact, Esav says it later on, Vayakeveni zefa amayim. He tricked me 2 times. He stole my bechorah and now he steals my berachot. Akeb means the heel or he tricked me. What does that mean? Vayado ohezet ba'akeb Esav. Yaakov Avinu is holding on to the trickery of Esav, which means Yaakov and Esav together came up with this plan to give the food to Yitzhak without Yitzhak knowing. Number 1, for Yitzhak Avinu to eat kosher food the whole time. Number 2, for Yitzhak Avinu never to feel the pain and sorrow, realizing that his son Esav is a Rasha. Says the Yismach Moshe, Rivka imenu went alone to Yeshivat Shem Va'eved. She never told Yitzhak, her husband, the Nevu'ah. That what Nevu'ah did she hear? One will be Tzaddik, one will be Rasha. Why? Why do I have to devastate him? Why do I have to cause him so much pain? Let him know by his own. And he ended up realizing on his own. Now we can understand the Rashi that we started off with. Rashi tells us the story is about the children of Yitzhak, Yaakov and Esav. And we asked, we know Yaakov and Esav are the children of Yitzhak. What do I need to know for? What does Rashi have to tell me? Says the Yismach Moshe. Rashi's coming to answer your question. How in the world is Yitzhak favoring Esav more than Yaakov to give Esav the berachot? Comes Rashi and tells us, Yaakov ve'Esav. Yaakov and Esav came up with a plan together to give Yitzhak Avinu kosher food and not to cause any pain and suffering to Yitzhak Avinu. And in the end of the day, says the Yismach Moshe, and in fact many other rabbis say the same thing, in the end of the day, the berachot really belong to the one who was putting the kavanah in the food. and that is rightfully so Yaakov Avinu. Esav has no business receiving the berachot from Yitzhak Avinu. This is what it means. Verav ya'avod tza'ir. Verav, which means Esav is the Rav, ya'avod tza'ir. Why is he now going to have to serve the tza'ir, Yaakov Avinu? Because Yaakov is the one who deserved the berachot. Yaakov Avinu is the one who put the kavanah. Yaakov Avinu is the one who has the kedusha. Verav, Esav, Ya'avot Sa'ir. He has to really worship and serve Yaakov Avinu because the berachot really belong to Yaakov Avinu. With this, that was the Ismach Moshe. With this, I want to segue into what the Ritba says. The Ritba explains what we say in the Haggadah Shel Pesach. We say in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, Va'eten leYitzhak et Yaakov ve'et Esav. I gave Yitzhak Avinu Yaakov and Esav. He asks this question. He says, Madua gilgela ha'hashgaha שיעקב אבינו יהיה התאום של עשיו הרשע ויצאו שניהם יחדיו. The first set of twins in history, or at least in history, in Jewish history, is Yaakov and Esav. We don't have twins before that. So Yaakov and Esav are the first twins. We have twins later on. Yaakov and Esav. Why, asks the Ritba, why did Borei Olam have to make it? You're going to tell me Hebel and Cain were not twins. You're going to tell me the sisters that were born with Hebel and Cain, that's a midrash. We're talking about Pshat over here. I know your questions. So why did Borei Olam ask the Ritba? Because it says first she gave birth to Cain and then she gave birth to Hebel. Over here they came out at the same time. Ask the Ritba, why did Borei Olam have to make it that they have to be twins? That's the argument of Uzair that she was created with another one and he killed him. Okay, that's a different one. Pshat. Says the Ritba, ask the Ritba, why do I need it that they have to be twins? Why? Miskin, Bemet. Yaakov Avinu, he doesn't want to be in the same womb as Esav. He knows who Esav is. He doesn't want to be neighbors with the Rasha. So why, Borei Olam, did you create Yaakov and Esav in the same womb? He answers like this. I'll read you his words. V'da' be'emet. You have to know. כי לכך יצא עשיו הרשע תאום עם יעקב הצדיק בבטן אחת. You have to know that the reason why there were twins in the same womb, כדי שיבינו כל העולם, for the whole world to know, כי צדקתו של יעקב הצדיק מעצמו באה לו, ולא במזל, ולא בטבע אב ואם, ולא מכוח אחר. Yaakov Avinu was a Sadiq not because he was born from a Yitzhak that was a Sadiq and Rivka was a Sadiqit. He worked on himself. If the reason why he was a Sadiq is because his parents were Sadiqim, look at Esav. He should have also been a Sadiq. But Esav chose not to be a Sadiq. שהרי בבטן אחד נולדו הוא ועשיו, ועשיו יצא לתרבות רעה, ויעקב הלך בדרך טובים. If you don't work on yourself, you could have grandparents that are illustrious rabbis. Your own father can be a rabbi. Everyone around you can be a rabbi. If you do not work on yourself, what is stopping you from becoming an Esav? They were born together. They came out almost together at the same time. They grew up together. Same upbringing. But Esav chose a different lifestyle. Yaakov Avinu became a tzaddik. Never say that it wasn't my choice or it was my choice. No. Borei Olam doesn't force you to become a tzaddik or a rasha. The proof is in the pudding right here. Yaakov Avinu worked on himself. If Yaakov Avinu did not work on himself, the rabbis say, you wouldn't be able to know the difference between Yaakov and Esav. Yaakov was also red hair. He also had red hair. Exactly the same thing like Esav. They're both the same exact thing. You can't even tell the difference. Who's who? But when they got older, ויגדלו הנערים, ויהי עשיו איש יודע ציד איש שדה, ויעקב איש תם, יושב אוהלים. What does that mean, יושב אוהלים? Not ישב אוהלים, יושב. Every single day he's learning Torah. If every single day you don't learn Torah, you skip on Torah one time, The Yetzer Hara is right around the corner to get you. You have to Yoshev or Halim right there every single day to work on yourself. So with that being said, I have to tell you what the Megaleh Amukot says. The Megaleh Amukot, he really brings it from Targum Yonatan ben Uzziel. And I believe we mentioned this one time in the class and I got very funny looks and faces. That Esav was born with a set of teeth and hair, and he was a complete person. Esav's real name was Asui. Esav's real name was not Esav, Asui. Now, for all of you that know Hebrew, Asui means complete or made already. It's Asui. Says the Megaleh Amukot, really Esav's name was Asui. However, it says that when Yaakov came out, Veyado Hezet Ba'akeb Esav. Yaakov is holding on to the heel of Esav, which means to the last part, to the last letter of Esav's name, which is Asui. Now, if we are to spell Esav Asui, which is Ayin, Sin, Vav, Yod, and we remove the Yod, we have Esav. Yaakov Avinu's name really was supposed to be Akev, because when his parents saw him holding on to the heel, they called him Akev. But when he took the Yod from Esav's name, which is Asui, and he added the Yod to his name, Akev, he became Yaakov. This is the Megaleh Amukot, which begs the question, how will that help me in my life? I'm sorry for being so frank. Thank you. It's a beautiful explanation. I like it. He took the Yod. He was created complete. How will that help me in my life? Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand something. The Torah is not a storybook. It has a lot of beautiful stories, but it's not a storybook. It's not that you learned it or you read it. Very nice. We'll come back to it next year. No. If you go through the Perashat and it doesn't teach you something, how to change your life around, how to improve your life, how to come closer to Borei Olam, might as well, what are you reading it for? It's not a storybook. I'm sorry to say, there's more interesting stories in it. Go read Robin Hood and I don't know, go read Goldilocks. No, go read something. The Torah is not a storybook. Everything that we learn over here in the class and everything you will hear about the Perushim of the Torah is to guide you on how to improve your life. So my question to you is, how am I improving my life? By understanding that Esav was a Asui. He was a complete person, and Yaakov Avinu took away the Yod and put it into his name. What will that teach me? So, I see a Rashi over here. When Yaakov Avinu leaves by the instruction of his father and mother to go to his uncle's house in Laban in Haran, it says, Vayar Esav kira'ot benot Kena'an be'enei Yitzhak Aviv. Esav understands that the ladies that are married are not pleasing in my father's eyes because he married Kena'an ladies. Obviously not Jewish. So what does he do? Vayelech Esav el Ishmael. He goes to Ishmael. So Canaan was bad, but you think Ishmael is better. Okay. ויקח את מחלת בת ישמעאל בן אברהם, אחות נביות, אל נשב לא לאישה. He doesn't divorce his first wives. You would think, my father, he doesn't really agree with my wives, so divorce them. No. I'll leave them, but I'll marry other ladies. Says Rashi, I wrote Rashi over here. Says Rashi, Hosif rish'a arish'ato. He increased wickedness over his wickedness. Shelo gerash et harishonot. He didn't divorce the first ones. Says the Or HaHayim HaKadosh, Yagid HaKatuv, the Pasuk tells us, Ki lo hash Esav ella letzad hakbadat abiv alehem. The only reason why I'm marrying other ladies is because my father doesn't approve of the first ladies. Aval zulat ze, lema shehem behinat hara, lo hash, she'en nafsho meta'abtan. Really? They're good ladies. Oh, they worship idols? I also worship idols. So they're bad ladies? Okay, I'm also a bad person. The only reason why I'm getting other ladies is because my father doesn't approve of the first ones. So let me maybe find ladies that my father approves of. Says the Or HaHayim HaKadosh, ואולי שכל הרגשתו לא הייתה אלא שמה יתפקעו ברכותיו לצד בנים אשר יהיו לו מבנות כנען. He says, if I stay with the ladies of Canaan, I will lose the berachot of my father later on. Because don't forget, Esav stays with Yaakov and Rivka his whole life. Yaakov Avinu doesn't have 22 years on top of Esav. Yaakov Avinu, 22 years, is missing Kibud Avaim. So Esav, by the way, that's what's keeping them alive until today. The Gentiles, the Kibud Avaim of Esav, that's what's keeping them alive and strong. It's a great mitzvah. So he doesn't have, Yaakov doesn't have the Kibud Avaim. And who's serving Yaakov the whole time? Esav. And Esav says, if I leave these ladies and don't marry new ones, maybe I won't receive the berachot from my father. So the only reason, says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, you'll see why I bring you this. The only reason when the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says, the reason why he brought or he married new ladies is because I'm scared of the berachot. I don't want to lose the berachot. So let me go and leave the Canaan ladies, but let me go marry into Ishmael. Maybe my father will like Ishmael because, Ishmael's family, it's his uncle. So maybe we'll get the berachot. Why do I bring you this? Because it's the Avnei Nezer. The Avnei Nezer says something phenomenal. He says, Esav hashab tamid al atzmo shehu asui. Esav always viewed himself as a complete person. In fact, says the Avnei Nezer, Esav's gematria numerical value is 376. The same numerical value as the word shalom. Shalom does not mean peace. Shalom means completion. He felt he was a complete person. I don't have to work on myself. I'm a perfect individual, says the Avnei Nezer. That's why he really felt I deserve the berachot from Yitzhak Avinu. So let's understand this. Esav never felt the need for growth or to improve his ways because he was plagued with the same problem that many of us face. I go to class once a week. I'm good. I wake up to shul in the morning. I'm good. I have to increase my Torah study? For what? I'm a complete person. I'm good in the eyes of God. I'm better off than everybody else. That's our problem. Because we always say, I'm better off than him. But why are you comparing yourself to him? What about your job? Don't become an Esav. There's a very thin line between Yaakov and Esav. If you feel yourself as a Asui, you will never increase in your servitude of God, ever. But if you feel yourself like you're an Akev, I'm only the heel like Yaakov Avinu, Yoshev Ohalim. He's always sitting down in Yoshev Ohalim. And Yaakov Avinu understands that Esav always feels he's a complete person. Therefore, he takes the Yod away from his name to tell him, you're not an Asui, buddy. You're an Esav. You'll always be an Esav. And Yaakov Avinu wants to put the Yod in his name to elevate it because the Yod is the first letter of Borei Olam's name, Yod Ke Vav Ke. I want to elevate myself. How in the world will I elevate myself if I infuse myself with God every single day? Yoshev Ohalim. Through the Torah that I'm learning, I won't feel myself as a Asui. Look at Talmidei Hachamim. Look, for example, Hacham Avodah Yosef, alav shalom. Look at Hacham Eliashiv, alav shalom. You ever see the videos of them learning Torah at 3 o'clock in the morning? What are you learning for? You know the whole Torah already. How many times Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, alav shalom, Siyum HaShas every single year? Rabbi, what are you doing? You know it already. What are you doing? Yes, but the day I stop, I'm an Esav. The day I stop, I'm an Asui. I don't want to be an Asui. I do not want to be an Asui. Yoshev Ohalim. This is the lesson for all of us. It's a very thin line between Yaakov and Esav. What do you want to become in life? You want to always increase, always improve, always change? Or you're complacent? You're comfortable in the way that I am. Says the Shem Mishmuel, he says, we have another figure in history that had red hair. David HaMelech. David HaMelech, you would think, David HaMelech is the king of all of Israel. David HaMelech, quote unquote, has no time to learn Torah. Yeah, what does it say in the Gemara Masechet Berachot? That he was the king and the rabbis would come in and ask him to check the bidikot cloth for the ladies. The king of Israel has nothing better to do than to check the clothes of the lady to see whether she's pure to be with the husband or not. Because the day that I don't check those clothes, I'm an asui. I don't want to be an asui. I always have to increase, up my game. In fact, what does he say? En shalom ba'atzamai mipenei hatati. David HaMelech says, I have no peace because of the sins. Imagine, David HaMelech is saying on himself that he has sins. He says, I don't have shalom in my bones because of my sins. But who felt, Moshe, that he had shalom in his life? Esav. Because Esav is Gematria shalom. You see, the same red hair people, because red denotes judgment, denotes dinim. And David HaMelech had all the excuses in the world not to learn Torah. But every single day he's learning Torah. He doesn't want to become like an asui. Says the Igrad de Kala. Oh, I have to read you the Shem Mishmuel inside. Says the Shem Mishmuel. I really didn't finish the whole thing because I only underlined what I'm about to say now. But he says like this. He says, Yitzhak Avinu treated Esav and Yaakov as malchut and kehuna. Listen to what he says. Interesting. He says, Berach et Esav ben malchut. וחשב שיעקב יהיה כמו לוי, שיצא ממנו משה רבנו והכהונה. Yitzhak wanted that all the Kohanim and Moshe Rabbeinu to come out from Yaakov. But who would come out from Esav? Listen to this. ומעשיו יצאו משיח בן דוד ומשיח בן יוסף. Again, I don't really continue it. Wow. That's the only thing we could say is wow. But that's not why I brought it for you. I brought it like this. This is what I saw. He says, כי אחרי שראה עשיו שנפל מאגרה רמה. עשיו, excuse me, you see that the berachot were not meant for you. You see that your father Yitzhak gave the berachot to your brother Yaakov. So what does he do? He says, לא פשפש במעשיו לתלות החסרון בו. He says, he doesn't introspect and see maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I should change my ways. Maybe I'm doing something good. No, אלא בנשיו. He says, it's my wife's fault. You know why I don't get the berachot? It's because I married Canaan. Don't we do that? Didn't I tell you that earlier? The reason why I can't learn is because my wife doesn't let me go to class. The reason why I can't learn is because I don't have time to learn. The reason why I can't go to class is because of this. We always blame everything external, but we don't introspect. That was Esav. That was Esav. You might be laughing and find this amusing, but this is a story of our lives. It's not a storybook. He says, "V'hashab letaken." He says, "Oh, let me do something." שתהיה לו עוד אישה מיוחסת בת ישמעאל, ועל כן לא גירש את הראשונות. Let me marry Ishmael. He says, ולכן אמר רש"י, הוסיף רשעה על רשעותו. More on top and more wickedness on top of wickedness. Instead of changing yourself, seeing what you're doing wrong, you're doing something even worse. That's a Shem Mishmuel. I have to read it on the inside. Says the Igrad de Kala, something interesting. He says we have the letters He, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod, Lamed, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Sadi, Kof. How many letters was that if you're counting? 12 letters. He says Hem, Neged, Yod, Bet, Hodshe, Hashana. The corresponding to the 12 months of the year. Now the first month that we have in the Jewish calendar is Nisan. Correct, very good. I wanted to see how much you guys know. Right, it's not Elul. Elul is the Rosh Hashanah, but we count the months from Nisan. Good. He says like this. He, Vav, Zayin, Hem, Neged, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. Okay, He, Vav, Zayin. How exactly? It's too deep for me. It's above my pay grade, but I just brought you what I understand. He says, He, Vav, Zayin corresponds to Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. Good. He says, וזה יעקב לקח לחלקו, ולכן היה בהם יציאת מצרים ומתן תורה. Yaakov was able to grab them over to the Kedusha side, and therefore, what do we have in Nisan, Iyar, Sivan? We have Yetziat Misraim, the man fell in Iyar, Pesach Sheni in Iyar, and in Sivan we have Matan Torah, Shabuot. But, the Otiyot Het Tet Yod, הם נגד תמוז אב אלול. ולכן חורבן בית המקדש ראשון והשני וכל הפורעניות היו בתמוז ואב. What happened in Tammuz? חטא העגל. What happened in Tammuz? The Meraglim left. They came back in Ab with the news that we shouldn't enter the land of Israel. Harban Bet HaMikdash, destruction the first, second, Kristallnacht, all the bad things happened in Tisha B'Av. That means Esav was able to grab onto the Het and Tet. He also wants to grab onto the Yod. Yaakov Avinu says, no way you're taking the Yod. He grabs the Yod away from Esav. רק חודש אלול המרומז ביוד נטל יעקב ולכן כל ההצלחה של ישראל בתשובה בחודש אלול. That's why when is the month to do teshubah? Chodesh Elul. Why? Because Danny, I didn't say your name once in this class. You believe it? I didn't say your name once. So don't tell me I'm picking on you. Oh, because you sat near him. Don't be jealous now. Okay? Okay, fine. Now I'm saying your name. He took the letter Yod away from Esav. This is what it means for our life. Teshubah is all the time. Improving yourself is all the time. Fixing yourself is all the time. He says Chodesh Elul, but the lesson for us is all the time. Every single time, improve yourself in the serving of Borei Olam. That's what the Igrad Kalla says. We will continue. Says the Abnei Nezer, now we understand what Esav says. Esav comes, he sees his brother Yaakov cooking up the noodle soup, cooking up the ades soup, the lentil soup. And he says, who's the lentil soup for? He says, we didn't hear. Our grandfather, Avraham Avinu, passed away. He says, Midat Hadin got him? He died? He should have been alive. He's a Sadiq. Midat Hadin got him? Which means I have nothing to worry about. Why I have nothing to worry about? Listen to the Abnei Nezer. Phenomenal. He says, שעשיו היה שלם בעצמו ולא מצא אצלו עוול. He said, I'm a perfect individual, שלם. He says, ואם כן, קל וחומר לאברהם. He deduced something. What did he say? He says, אם באותו זקן פגעה מידת הדין, אין מתן שכר ולא תחיית המתים. If Borei Olam really loves the Saddiqim, he should have left them alive. Which means, if he got rid of Avraham, which means Avraham is not a Saddiq afterwards, which means my grandfather he's talking about, which means there's no reward for the Saddiqim, because he should have left them alive. So if Avraham left, I have nothing to worry about. If Avraham left, and there's no Sachar for Avraham, so why do I have to serve God? If Avraham passed away, and he was a Saddiq of the Saddiqim, then what do I have to worry about? What do I have to serve God? I'm a Shalem person. That's what Abnei Nezer says. We continue. I saw Rav Shor. He says, Hateva hu, nature has it, שבשעת ששומעים הקול קורא מאת השם לשוב אליו יתברך. When Borei Olam throughout the day, he sends you these signs and these signals and these messages to improve yourself, to become better. What do? חושבים על חסרונות של אחרים שהם צריכים לתקן עצמם. You know, I really hope that you all walk out tonight with the message that you have to improve, and don't go tell your friend, I heard a great shi'ur and I think that you have to improve in something that I heard. I really hope that you internalize these messages. And don't say that I know the exact person who you're talking about. Or let me wait and go tell my wife exactly what she has to improve in. Because I know, unfortunately, that happens. Because everybody feels they're complete. Everybody feels they're asui. Nobody feels, that I have to work on myself like a Akev, like a Yaakov. He says, בזה קליפת עשיו הרשע. This is Esav speaking to you. וצריכים להתגבר על זה ולעשות תשובה ולא יאמר שלום יהיה לי. Never say, I'm a good person. I'm complete. I don't have to increase my learning. I don't have to improve. We all have to improve. Even the greatest Saddiqim in life, we all have to improve, because we said this one time in the class, if you're not growing, you are dying. That's what it is. Fact of life. If you are not growing, you are dying. It's funny because when was it? 2 weeks ago, I took my family to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. And they had, I was disappointed because it was boring, but fine. We thought something to do on a Sunday. What else are you going to do? We're doing the same exact things. Jewish Children's Museum like 100 times. The same exact things. Okay. So we went. Anyway, so they had an exhibition of the bonsai tree. Beautiful. Now, do you know that if you don't cut the bonsai tree, it will die? You have to keep on cutting it. You have to keep on cutting your life, which means you have to keep on increasing something or changing something. You cannot be complacent and just let me go with the nature of things. If we were to leave that bonsai tree alone and not touch it at all, it will die. You have to always increase. I'll leave you off with the Alufei Yehuda. The Alufei Yehuda says, and we really witnessed this with the rally yesterday. The rally yesterday, now, I'm not going to voice my opinion or view on whether it was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. What's done is done. I do know one thing. It was a beautiful act or sign of unity. Ahdut. That nobody could take away from you. I don't care what your views are, left, right. I don't think Jews got together in this capacity ever, really. It's unfortunate that we need our oppressors and our enemies to unite us, but that's a set reality of things. He says over here, he says, Yitzhak Avinu goes to Gerar, and Yitzhak Avinu digs 3 wells. And those 3 wells are Esek, Sitna, and Rehovot. Those are the names of the wells. Esek, the Philistines say it belongs to us. Sitna, the Philistines say it belongs to us. Rehovot, nothing. Rehovot, Yitzhak, and the Jews were able to get Rehovot. Says the Alufei Yehuda. He says like this. Gimal be'erot shebe parasha shenikre'u sitna, esek ve'rehobot. המרמזים על גימל בתי מקדש, ששניים הראשונים סתמום עבדי פלישתים ורבו עליהם, והשלישי רחובות כרחיב השם לנו. If you really look at the parasha, there's a change of wording when it comes to the first 3 and the last one. Look what it says. The first 2, I meant. First 2, it says, وَيَحْپَرُوا عَبْدَي يِtzْحَاق بَالنَّحَلِ. وَيَحْپَرُوا. A lot of people together. A lot of people. Which means many different opinions. وَيَرِبُوا. They fought over this. Next one, وَيَحْپَرُوا. They went and dug up the well. They fought again. Why? Many people, many opinions. The third one, وَيَحْپُر, says the Alufei Yehuda. وَيَحْپُر. 1. What does that mean, وَيَحْپُر? Only Yitzhak dug it up? No. They all dug it up. But this time they unified. This time they all came together. When they come together, they could have a well like Rehovot, and they could have the 3rd Beit HaMikdash that will be rebuilt. However, if we have وَيَحْپَرُوا, if we have many different opinions, many different views, I know it has nothing to do with what we talked about in the class. There's something I wanted to bring out. It's obvious that the only way to end everything that's going on right now and to end all our troubles and to hasten the coming of Mashiach and the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash, the only way is Ahdut. That's the only way. Borei Olam tells us in the Perashat, the first 2 were destroyed because they couldn't see eye to eye. The third one, where Vayahpor, Ki'ish Ehad, Beleb Ehad, unified, then they were able to dig up that well, they were able to fill it up, they were able to build a 3rd Beit HaMikdash. And why do I bring you this? Because if you see the acronym of the 3 wells, well, let's do it together. We have the first one is Isaac, is an ayin. The second one is a sin, is sitna. The third one is rehobot, is a resh. What word does that make? Se'ar. It says in the Perashat, what does se'ar mean? Hairy. It says over here, ויצא הראשון אדמוני, כולו כאדרת שיער. The first one comes out, he's a redhead, and he's filled with hair. Se'ar. Says the Alufei Yehuda, it's no coincidence that the acronym for the three wells is Se'ar. You know why? Because who is stopping us from uniting? Our oppressors, our Se'ar, our Isav, our enemies. They don't want us to unite because they know that the second that we unite, it's over for them. And that's why you've been seeing all these memes and all these messages. Hamas, you think you destroyed us? You only brought us together. Did you see it, Aaron?
Totally.
Yeah, totally. I like that.
Dancing and praying.
Exactly. The Se'ar doesn't want you to get together. The Se'ar wants to make this harmony, disconnecting. He doesn't want you to get together. But when we realize that the only way out of this galut is by everybody uniting together, then we'll have the resh. Then we'll have the rehobot. Then we'll have the final well. We'll have the coming of Mashiach. We'll have the rebuilding of Beit HaMikdash. May Borei Olam help us and teach us this lesson of number one, always looking for ways to improve. Always including Borei Olam in our life. There's a thin line between Yaakov and Esav. Question you have to ask yourself every day, not once a year, every day. Who do you want to be? And also realizing that the power of unity, B'ezrat Hashem, will take us out of our galut. I thank you all for coming to the class every Wednesday night. Har Lebanon Avenue as the corner of East 9th at 8 o'clock. We're looking forward to seeing you on Shabbat for a full schedule. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.